So, finally we are here. Siam, thanks for coming. Although we know each other for quite some time, but I never asked you about your founder's journey. So, today you managed some time. Of course, I'm also very busy, but we both found our time to sit here and listen to your story and your way to become a founder. And I thought that I'll ask you, of course, I have tons of questions, and you also have a lot of stories to share. So I thought we will make it a multi-episode series. Today I am going to ask you a question about like how it all started back in Bangladesh. I mean, how did you find out that you want to move to US or you want to become a founder? Just tell us your story. How did it all start?
Yeah, thank you, Tarek, for also taking your valuable time, like listening to my story and giving me this chance to share mine. Well, when I graduated in 2007 from my bachelor's, I studied in university called IUT. When I graduated, it wasn't very known in Bangladesh. It was an up and coming university, but right now it's more popular. But I actually honestly didn't have any idea or desire to be a founder or to move to the US. Okay. So this all happened very organically, and I just like all these things kind of unfolded, and I'm also found it myself in the journey. So when we were graduating, most of our alumni from our university, like there wasn't a big trend of going abroad. Most of them, I was graduating from electrical engineering, and most of the people were primarily getting jobs in Bangladesh in the telecom industry, in power industry. There are very few people who are going to either Europe, some countries in Europe, and some in Canada. And there wasn't a big trend of going to the US.
Oh, interesting.
And we also didn't have, well, I also didn't have any role models in my family. Like I am the first person who actually moved to the US from my entire family, from all cousins and all family.
Interestingly, that's the same for me as well.
Yeah, so basically, I never even thought of like going to the US or going abroad in general. So we had like 30 students in our class in electrical engineering, and I was literally in the my grades were I was in 17th grade. So basically my CGPA, everything was pretty much always on average. So in my university I was totally in the average side, and it kind of started as a very silly thing. The motivation to like go abroad is that like for going to US you have to study GRE and or GMAT, like you have to go through some difficult tests. And when I was basically like just talking with my friends, I was in my 4th year, talking with my friends, senior alumni and people like that, and one of my friends or one of my classmates said that, hey Siam, like I don't think, like he said that GRE is very hard, I don't think you can pull it off, or I don't think it's pull offable, like it's difficult.
He threw a challenge at you.
Yeah, so, and I mean, you know me, but for the audience, I am most motivated when there is a challenge. If there is no challenge, I get bored. And whenever it's challenging or difficult or painful, I get all the drive.
I know that very well.
So basically, whenever I heard it, I started basically like, okay, let me just start reading the GRE vocabulary book. Just like I borrowed it from another friend and just basically started reading the book, like the vocabulary English book. And also, for a little bit more context, in my university, I didn't used to play any sports, but I was very heavily deep into games, like gaming. I wasn't studying much, I was primarily playing games all the time. I was a full game nerd, RPG, strategy, all kind of games. And I was a big fan of Greek mythology. I played Age of Mythology, many other like Greek inspired games. And basically when I started reading this vocabulary book, I found so many like interesting correlations between the Greek words and the Latin words and all the words I have heard in this game. So I started basically connecting all these words, GRE words, into all these Greek words and started building like something called a word map, like a network of words which are connected and which has stories behind it. This is not just a GRE word. And then 4th year I graduated, and then I started working. So this was something I was doing on the side as a fun. I also gave the GRE. I got a very average score, but I was still continuing to connect these words for fun. So after graduation, I started working as an engineer in Biman Bangladesh Airlines. This is our
flag carrier.
Yeah, the national airlines of Bangladesh, and that was basically my engineering job because I studied in electrical engineering. I was doing an engineering job. I was working there as a aircraft maintenance officer, like training period, and then basically I was just doing it as my day job, and I had a lot of free time. So in all my free time, I was just basically connecting all these jobs, and I was kind of like being nerd about it, even in the job. One of my very close friends, who is actually working in a helicopter company in US right now, but anyway, he was also working with me in Biman back then. He said that, hey Siam, like there is this opening in this coaching center, which is very common in Bangladesh, like tutoring center, and you can just apply there as a GRE teacher because you like it. So like, why don't you like do something, like get some side cash. So I was like, okay, let's start it. So I started teaching basically in that coaching center, and within the first batch of the GRE classes in that coaching center, my classes became very popular because I was going to the class, and every class I was sharing all these words and all these Greek stories. And people basically, like all the students were basically coming to the classes mostly just to hear these theatrics, like the stories, the Greek story, and they're connecting. And I had so many kind of like students come up to me after the class and say, Siam, no one taught me GRE like that. So immediately I have seen that like the students were just increasing in the class just through word of mouth.
Okay, so you just found your newfound skills, how to mentor people.
Yeah, and I wasn't actually like, I didn't know that I like mentoring or anything back then. I used to do some here and there small tutoring, but nothing in that scale, on a big class kind of scale. Most of them are one-on-one, but these were like in a big class scale. And I think after the first batch being completed there, I realized that, okay, like why am I expanding this coaching center and making it popular? Because I've gone through all the other classes of other GRE mentors in that coaching center, and I was like, I can basically start my own GRE, like I can start my own GRE cohort. I just did some calculations, and I would say like that's probably my intro to entrepreneurship, which although I didn't know that I'm getting into it.
Okay, I thought it started after you moved to US, but yeah, you've already started your entrepreneurship back in Bangladesh then.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know the names. The entrepreneurship term was not popular.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just did some basic math. So the basic math was that, okay, like how many students do I need to break even? And then I think initially that was like, I need for each GRE student, I was thinking that, okay, I'll charge them 10,000 taka, whole tutoring, for 2 months or 3 months. And then I thought that, okay, like what would be the break even? How many students would I need to break even the first cohort? And I just did some budgeting, and I rented like in the building wherever I was staying, the garage. And it sounds very typical, like the typical garage story.
Yeah.
But I genuinely rented a garage, which was like the basement of the building we are staying in. And I invested literally, my budget was 10,000 taka, which is one user. So I spent some money on renting the garage a little bit for like 2 weeks, just because I'm doing test run. I bought some like chairs, like the chairs we're sitting right now, like very cheap chairs, and some tables, very super cheap, quick execution style. Like I didn't know all these MVP and all these startup terms back then. I was just like, okay, let's do something quick. So I invested that, and I'm like, okay, I told that, hey, like I'm gonna start my cohort. I think like I started in March or something. Like, okay, I started telling in that coaching center. I said, hey, the next cohort will be starting in my in my own house, like in this garage. And believe me or not, within the first cohort, like when I started, I had 15 students. When I started.
How did it feel? Like
I was like,
I cannot imagine. Like it's such a big success in the first attempt.
So I got literally like 15 into 10,000, so 1.5 lakh Bangladeshi taka, literally on the March of that year when I started. I'm like, oh shit, this is like something which is like a gold mine.
Yeah.
Because it's like so instant.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So I'm like, okay, this is fun. Like it's fun because I love teaching. And I always said these things to my friend, is that like, how do you know that you do something, but how do you know that you love something so much, is that you would pay to do the work. What do you love so much? And honestly, teaching is something which I love so much that I would pay to teach people. Because when I was like having a bad day, when I go to the class, you
get cheer up.
Yeah, my performance comes out, my motivation comes out, my teaching, sharing the wisdom comes out. When I see the eyes of a student, it's like literally like blinking, like they're like watching some movie, like goosebumps. They're having the goosebumps and it's showing in their eyes, and the genuine gratitude after the class. So I would pay for these feelings, and I was on the reverse. I was getting paid. I'm like, this cannot be true. This is the best deal. So basically, I was doing this Biman, this airlines job, kind of that became a side hustle. This became my main hustle.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure you were making more in this than the full-time job.
I was making more. I was making more than pretty much anyone in my cohort back then, like
I can imagine.
from where I graduated. And on the side, I also utilized my GRE score because I wasn't sure that if I want to go abroad, because I was just enjoying GRE and words.
Yeah, and you just aced the first challenge that your friend threw at you.
Yeah, and exactly. So I basically utilized that score to get enrolled into MBA into IBA, which is the best kind of like business institute in Bangladesh. That time I was working in Biman, teaching, and then doing evening batches in MBA. So I was like, when I
Very
came
occupied.
home after the whole day, I was exhausted, but I was so happy. Like, you cannot imagine how happy I was. Like, I was like literally running all day, working all the day, but I was so happy. Feeling like when I went to sleep, it was like a peaceful sleep because I made some real.
Exhausted.
Yeah, I'm exhausted, and I made some real difference. I can see the difference. I think within 3 months I had 50 students, and I was like giving parties, like, okay, like guys, we're gonna meet in TSC, which is like a big meeting spot. Hey
Yeah.
guys, we're gonna all go, and then we're gonna give a party. And then I was like, oh, like it's so fun to, you know, like have like money. Because I just graduated, I didn't have money, and I was like, it's so fun because I can give treat to 20 people. And I'm like, this is so fun. Like, they're like, okay, who will pay? I'm like, man, don't worry, you came with me, I'm gonna give you a treat. So that feeling was really good. So I was like, okay, like I realized that, okay, this is like, I didn't realize that this is basically what is getting into entrepreneurship. But anyway, so basically I started enjoying that, and that's what I was doing. And of course, since I gave the GRE, I also started applying to universities, and then I applied to roughly around like 8 US universities, and I got selected to 4, and then 2 of them gave me funding. One was Arizona State and another one was University of Houston. So Arizona State, I got a like 50% scholarship, and then University of Houston, I got like full scholarship. So I was in a kind of like in a very tough situation of my life in 2020, like 9, in the beginning of 2029, when I heard this news that, like I heard the news of getting admissions and all this. Not actually beginning, like mid 2020, like or April or May 2029. Just imagine that I am doing this Biman job, which is already also kind of fulfilling. Airlines, it's a cool job. Airlines, planes, I love planes. Then I'm teaching, which is like
Going very well.
going very well. And I'm doing MBA in the best institute.
Exactly.
And then suddenly I got an email with this funding.
You were in such a sweet problem. Like, I mean, what to pick from all these good, option? Like, moving to US with full funding was also a great option, right, for you?
Yes, but I didn't know what is there, and I was basically very confused, honestly, back then, because staying in Bangladesh, my dream became very big, and the coaching center I exited from Cyphers, which is still one of the largest coaching centers in Bangladesh, and back then it
Indeed.
was very big. I thought that like Cyphers is gone. Like if I stay here 5 years, like Cyphers is like, this is like an old company, like I am going to destroy Cyphers in 5 years, because I just literally did the math. First month 1.5 lakh, 3 months later I just literally put an Excel sheet and just did the trajectory. And so like Cyphers, like this is nothing, like this is it's nothing to beat, because I could see the path very clearly.
And the way you teach and the strategies and everything is like quite different from how they do it in Cyphers, right?
Yes, and I didn't have any marketing, any nothing. Every student came from word of mouth, and every student was bringing 3 or 4 more students. So, and I also tested out, now I didn't know all this entrepreneurship stuff, so I tested out all this batch pricing. No, if you bring your friend, you'll get a referral. I didn't know these like marketing techniques.
Yeah.
These are all designed organically. Anyway, so when this sweet moment, this situation came, bittersweet, like decision making time came, I basically like started talking to my friends and my alumni and all these senior people that, hey, like I got this, like I'm in this dilemma, like can you give me some advice? And actually, interestingly, like I would say like 9 out of 10 people said that, hey, like Siam, I think you are doing very well in Bangladesh. Like why would you go to US? Like that was honestly, I would say like 80% of the people said that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing well. Like why? Like you are doing well in all segments. Why would you go there?
What about your family?
Family was also kind of more preferring to me being in Bangladesh, because like Bangladeshi parents, they're like,
Yes.
okay, like why would you go abroad? You will be too westernized, and you
Yeah.
know how
Yeah,
how
I know
Bangladeshi parents operate. They're like, no, Siam, you're doing good. So family was also like, they're like, okay, like Siam, you better to stay, but if you really want, you can go. They're like, yeah, they don't know. They're
They're
doctors.
preferring you to stay here in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that actually one friend's one line or one conversations changed that direction. So I have this friend who is right now living in UK, very good friend. So I asked everyone said all these things. But this friend knew me very well, and I do not want to go into a different tangent, but this friend and me used to make movies when I was in university. So this is again a tangent, but a small tangent, that other than playing games, I used to make movies when I was in my universities.
Okay, we'll hear about that story in another episode, but
Yeah. So I made like 2 full-length movies, like different things, but he knew me very well because he's the closest person I did like creative work with. So when I said him, he said that, Siam, like, I know you very well. If you stay in Bangladesh, you can see the path clearly. And he said that, Siam, whenever you see the path clearly, you get bored. If you go to US, you could completely get destroyed, or you can completely vanish with the challenge, or you could be the next big thing. Which one do you choose? I'm like, man, like, so the decision was instant for me when he said that. I'm like, oh yeah, like I know I'm going to beat Cyphers. It's very clear, visible, and obviously boring. But US, it's completely dark, completely uncharted territory. He found my weak spot, which is uncharted territory. I'm like, okay, like it's an instant decision that I'll go to the US. So that's how I decided. It was only his code, and I thanked him so many. I still thank him that, man, only because you showed me that who I am. And I also didn't know who I am back then very clearly. Now I know that I love adventure, love unknown. These are my character traits, but I didn't know these things back then clearly. So I was like, okay, let's definitely go to the US because it sounds fun. It's like going to Mars or something, because I don't know.
you've decided against all the odds. I mean, like everybody was preferring you to stay Bangladesh, but that instant, like that moment made you decide that, okay, let's go, take this challenge, jump into this unknown territory.
Yeah, and that moment also made me realize that I'm attracted to uncertainty and not certainty. I'm
Okay.
bored with certainty, or I get sad, or not sad, like bored, fatigued. It doesn't energize me. Anyway, so I moved to the US, started pretty smooth, like with this professor. I got full scholarship, so it was going well for the first 3 months, but obviously in my life nothing will go smooth. So after 3 months, this professor basically said me that, hey, Siam, like I'm moving to this new university, University of Texas at El Paso, which is like a little bit remote than Houston. And then he said that I'm going there as a department head, and if you want the funding or retain the funding, you have to move with me. And I thought that, okay, no, like Houston is a big city. I don't know what will I do in El Paso, which is like literally in the corner of Texas. I knew that Houston would be a better place for me in terms of doing the masters and building the network and all this. So I said that, hey, like I love working with you, and you're a good professor, but unfortunately I cannot go. And he said that, yeah, if you cannot go, I can fund you for only this semester, but after that I cannot give you anything. So that was the kind of like, I would say, like a very tough news for me.
So, hold on. Was it so that you moved to US, everything was going well for the first month?
First 3 months.
First 3 months, and then your funding got stopped all of a sudden.
All of a sudden it
Wow.
got stopped, meaning it's the semester, it starts from August to December. He told me, I think like November or October, end of October, he said that you will have 2 more months, like just to finish the semester, I'll fund you, but after that, no more.
Wow. Well, as someone who also moved from Bangladesh to another country, I can imagine what a big blow was it for someone who is just 3 months into a new country, cultural shock, and then this big uncertainty. Well, Siam, we want to hear the story about this. It's really interesting. I have tons of questions about it, but we can keep it for another episode. and I'm sure our audience also want to hear about your story, how you overcame from that and moved to this situation here. So we'll continue it in another session.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Siam, during the last episode we have heard about your journey from Bangladesh to all the way to United States, and we know that you have taken a leap of faith. You had a really promising career in Bangladesh, but you chose to pursue your higher studies aspiration in US, and in 3 months in you ran into a huge setbacks of losing your fund from your master's program. We'd like to know how did you recover from that debacle, if you would share your story from that point.
Good to be back in the second episode here with you. So yeah, just to remember the context myself, this was in 2009, and I think in October I heard that my professor, he said that he's going to go to a new university, and if I want to keep the funding, the only way to do it is to move with him to a different school which was in a more rural area, which I didn't want to do. Basically I decided to stay in Houston, which is a little bit bigger city, but then I also knew that I had literally 2 more months of funding which will cover that semester, but after that I didn't know what to do back then. So first thing is that like I definitely didn't want to stress my parents, so I didn't inform my parents that I lost my funding.
Wow.
Because this is first of all kind of like a failure, you can say, of one sort, not intentional but failure, some kind of like a bad news. And then secondly, I knew that the moment I inform my parents will be very stressed. They won't be able to do anything because they don't know anything in the US. So I decided that okay, I'll just not inform them that I lost the funding. But then obviously this brought me even more pressure, because I was like, okay, what do I do in the next 2 months that I can actually stay in the US and pay for my tuition fees? As you know that most of the universities in US are quite expensive. Per semester it's at least 15 to 20,000 USD only in the tuition fee, and then there are living costs and everything, so it's quite expensive. Per semester it takes around 20 to 30k. So I was basically like started
Setting your short-term goals, like now.
I mean, I had some funding from the previous thing for 2 months. I was like, okay for that
that's
2
good.
months. But from January 2010, I didn't have anything. So what I started doing is that I spoke, I mean, that time I was primarily mostly hanging out with international students or with different international student association, or I was going to the Muslim Students Association, and I was also in the Bangladeshi Students Association. Like these are all the associations I was connected with or I knew, and basically I spoke with pretty much everyone saying that hey, like, is there any odd job, because I need to survive here, like I don't have any pathway, runway, what do I do? And through one of these like network of networks or connections of connections, I finally got a job in this like a diner called Dennis. It's very popular in the US. Popular means it's a very low-key diner. It's like not for a very posh group of people, but it's like it's a like a mass people friendly diner kind of a thing.
Working class
diner, and then it's very like, yeah, like it's ubiquitous. Every state has it. It's called Dennis. Everyone knows Dennis in the US. So, and this I didn't have a car back then, so I was commuting through bus, and then Houston doesn't have a good bus ecosystem. Only New York has a very good, like, you know, like in public transport ecosystem. Houston, you have to go through bus, and then you have to wait between the buses. So for me, from my house to Dennis, it was taking 2 hours one way every day.
Wow.
Through bus.
That's like Bangladesh. I mean,
yeah, like staying in the traffic, but it's just
yeah.
because the bus coordinations, I had to take 3 buses, and there are wait times and you know, things like that. And the Dennis job started at 8 a.m. because that's the schedule I got, and I had to wake up at 6 in the morning every day to wait for the bus, take this to my, and then go in the Dennis. And Dennis was a very interesting experience for me. And first of all, I mean, now I'm saying it off the records, but it was kind of under the hood, because as an F1 student, you actually cannot be
employed outside campus.
No, you cannot be. So,
okay.
so it's not, I mean, at this moment, I hope that USCIS is not running after me anymore. But that
you don't have any account with USCIS at the moment, as far as I know.
So yeah, I was doing it under the hood, like as a cash job that time. And then basically it was like from 8 a.m. to like, it was a 6 hours job. And in the beginning I was mostly, so Dennis is a diner, there are like who is serving and there are like hosts, and I was basically a host in the beginning. host is someone who is just sitting them in the chair, but not really bringing the food from the. This is like host. I was cleaning the glasses and then doing that, and then I went from host to being like in the cashier counter. Man, the cashier counter, I was so terrible because I was so new in the US. And I hated the customers who were giving me cash because there are coins and I don't know the coins.
God. I can imagine.
Because credit cards are like, this is a good customer. I was like looking at the coins and trying to see which coin is what. And all the customers, there is a big line. They're like pissed off.
And you were very slow handling
I was very
cash.
slow because I have never done this thing. So like I'm very slow in this. So I'm like the manager there. The thing is that I came there as a recommendation, through a recommendation. So the manager was not happy with me. You were like, okay, Siam, you're not even good in this. You are not good as a host. You are not good as in the cashier. Let's put you in the server role. Okay, do that server role. Even that I was terrible because I was a new international student. I don't know the ordering system. I don't know some of the English accent. I was also having hard time. There are different types of customers coming. So this is one part of my life. Remember that I'm also in the pressure of first doing my masters. It's not like I'm out of the credit and there is a break. I'm doing my full master's degree with the credit system. I cannot really reduce the CGPA.
You have to pass the test, fill your assignments.
Minimum I have to maintain, because without that I'll lose any chance of any future funding ever, because I have to maintain a certain level of CGPA. And then basically I was trying to get another professor, trying to convince another professor. So I was in electrical engineering department and I was pretty much going to every professor's. I knocked every professor's door possible in all the departments. It's in University of Houston, the engineering department is called Cullen College of Engineering. So I went pretty much to all the departments, basically whoever is working with material science, because my thing was more electrical material science / electronic. None of them were like, no, I mean, it's in the middle of the semester, we already have couple, next semester everyone is funded, like, sorry, we cannot do anything. So I think this was, and every day I had a kind of like a fixed ritual. I think the days were so stressful. I woke up at 6, traveling, went to Dennis, did the Dennis. Some of the days I was standing 6 hours every day with no sitting, my legs were hurting. Then going to university, doing the courses, and then coming back home. I think I came back home at like from all the classes at around like 10 p.m. or something. And then my ritual was I fill up the bathtub and literally just lie in the bathtub for half an hour and cry. That was my daily ritual, because I couldn't inform my parents of this bad news. This was my daily cycle. I'm like, this is the suffering, this is the thing I'm going through. So, and I was like, I don't know what miserable mistake I have done. Like, I was just going through a very depressive, tough state. I didn't have any friends there because obviously I'm new. So I was completely handling all of these things alone. And in December, I think in December, I remember that this was in the like beginning of December, first week of December, there was this one professor who said that, hey Siam, like I am not sure that if I can fund you, but there are literally 2 more weeks in December remaining. If you want, you can work in my lab for free, voluntarily, and I cannot guarantee you anything. But if you work, I will see that if I can give you funding or not. So I started working in his lab pretty much for free. So again, doing Dennis, doing the courses and doing the thing. I had like basically like no life.
So you take another job which doesn't pay you anything.
And with no promise. He said that we will see after 2 weeks what will happen. So I was doing that like, and I think, so this was one of the, I will definitely remember that time. This is one of my like tough, I mean I had went through multiple tough times, but this was one of my toughest times in my life. Is that I think it was I'm not sure if it was a Friday or like near the weekend, and I was like in the Dennis, my schedule that day was like, you know, like there is this like when in the Dennis, like there are like these tables, and then beside the table there are like these potties where the kids like babies sit. I don't know what are those called, like potty seats. Booster seats. Oh, I remember. Those are called booster seats. So the kids sit there, and in the back side of the Dennis, I was just basically washing the booster seats. I was washing all the booster seats which has been piled up. I was washing them with my hand. And I was thinking that, man, like just 6 months ago, I have been studying in the best MBA school in Bangladesh. I had my own side hustle. I was working in Biman Bangladesh Airlines, which is the national airlines. I had the best like peak career. And then what happened in the 6 months that I'm here? Like, what did I do wrong? So I really fucked up. This was such a I don't know, such a big mistake. I should have actually stayed in Bangladesh. This was such a big mistake.
You started questioning your decision.
I started questioning my decision, and it was negative from all directions. So not possible to not question it. And then the fun thing is that the next day, so Christmas Day, December 23rd was the pre-Christmas day. After that it goes to complete vacation. December 3rd, 23rd, 2009 is a very special day in my life because my professor, this guy who I have been working with, he just came before the Christmas closing. He just opened the door, and I was working in the lab. He's like, "Hey, Siam, how is the work going, blah, blah." Like, yeah, I'm doing and stuff. He's like, "Hey, we were closed in the Christmas, so from tomorrow you won't have anything. But by the way, I just wanted to let you know that I really liked your dedication and hard work, and you have proven yourself. So from next semester, I'm going to give you this funding and this kind of scholarship." And this scholarship was 2x better than my previous scholarship. It was fully funded, and I had extra cash for my even side, the RA, it was a research assistant position. So the extra amount was really a lot that time as a student. So with my tuition paid, it was I think 1400 per month in RA, which is a lot that time in Texas, in Houston. So it was really good. I literally I just cried in front of him, you just before Christmas, literally a day before I was questioning everything, and then the next day I got it. And I think that night I had the biggest, one of my major realizations of my life, which I still carry, is that whatever you go through, ups and downs, many of these things, either you believe in God or the universe, whatever, I mean whoever you believe in, doesn't matter, but the event that in December 23rd 2009 this good news will happen was kind of almost predetermined even without my knowledge. But whoever is the controller, if they just called me when I lost the funding few months ago, that "Hey Siam, you lost your funding, but you don't know that after 2 months you will hear a epic news," then I would have gone through the same struggle but happy. I would have okay, sure, I'm washing dishes. Oh great, let's wash dishes. I don't care, because I know the good news. And that's the time I realized that okay, good news is always coming. So it's just whoever is the communication person didn't just call me that, "Hey man, you lost it, but 2 months later you will get it."
In the meantime, you
have to go through the suffering but no
and
need
give the best of you, in everything you do.
Yeah, best, but also let's not make the suffering more miserable, because you're already in suffering.
Yeah.
But I basically had a really tough time in these 2 months, just questioning myself and kind of butchering myself. So that was my first learning, that in the end of the tunnel there is always light, but remembering that and really believing in that, then even if you're in, no matter what kind of tunnel you go through, you will always be able to get out of it, and get out of it healthy and happy. So that was my first learning as a person, which I still carry. Everything I do has this foundation built in. And that's the time I think I also had this idea that no matter how low you are, your goal is to have your heads high in those days. And whenever your heads are high and you're having the high days, it's important to keep your heads more humble when you're in the high, because it's always going to swing. And that's basically one of the learnings. I think I never take anything for granted anymore. I know that I can be a multi-millionaire and lose the things next day, but I think I'll be okay. And this "I'll be okay" mindset has been trained really early in my at that age. So that also came into my entrepreneurial muscle, but the saying that also got built into it. So nothing can really, hopefully, completely take me off the guards in that way.
Can we say that from that moment when you heard the good news, your heydays started to take off? Or
yeah, I mean the next year 2010 was amazing. I was traveling, and I'm an adventurous person, so I was doing all the I started planning that okay, I'll have to do all the 50 states within the next few years. So I started doing that, and then I also started building a Facebook community in 2020. It's called Higher Study Abroad, and I just started this as a Facebook group because I liked mentoring and tutoring, as I said.
Yeah.
And I actually had a lot of these students who have been mailing me and say that, "Hey Siam, you're not there anymore, but maybe you can teach us online." So I started teaching them in YouTube. I actually had a YouTube channel back then, and that time I think the group was so small. Right now Higher Study Abroad has to 20,000 members. It's one of the largest groups in Bangladesh where people, anyone who is going to study abroad knows higher study abroad right now. But this was in 2010. It literally had 500 members. It's new. And I was doing my masters. I was happy, like I was doing well. And then on the side, I was spending a lot of time in my kind of like managing the group, creating the videos and teaching people GRE online. And then one of the days I remember that I was in Houston in the housing complex in the parking lot. I was talking with my mom. That I was asking my mom that, okay, mom, like I am doing my masters and blah blah blah, all these things, but I'm spending so much time every day, 3 to 4 hours every day after this into this Facebook group for free. What's my benefit in it? I was like, am I dumb? Like, because I do dumb things all the time or sometimes. So like, is it a dumb thing I'm doing again? And my mom said that, okay, like how long did it take for you to gather all this information in higher studies, GRE? I said that like, if someone guided me, it would have at least saved me 1 year of my life, because I lost 1 year into just didn't know anything. And I was like, I didn't have any guidance. My mom said that, okay, if you have 500 group members, well, my mom said something which is not logical, but it was emotionally, it worked for me. So my mom said that, well, I mean, Siam, if it takes 1 year and if you have 500 group members, then you are kind of moving Bangladesh 500 years ahead. But through this thing, you're moving every person's 1 year, so total Bangladesh 500 years ahead. And I was that time such young person. I'm like, wow, this is so
Such
cool.
a dopamine boost.
I was like, wow, this is such a dopamine boost.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, my mission in life is that every person I meet, I want to save just 1 year of their lives. What they do with that's their wish. I will just remove that roadblock and it will be 1 year saving in their life. And that became kind of like I became an addict of this 1 year saving milestone.
Okay, so it's really interesting. I mean, of course, you've already started your entrepreneurial journey in Bangladesh, but so far nothing happened. I feel like this is what you've done with that Facebook group. You found another niche to practice your, or nurture your entrepreneurial spirit there. How did it go from there? Like from you are doing your masters, you are helping students from this forum, also focusing in your research. How did it go when you are done with your masters?
Yeah, so I agree. Like, I think the entrepreneurial seed probably got injected couple times, and I found myself in like multiple ways, different times. So this was through more like online communities, something which I have not experienced before. But coming back to your question about my master's, so I was doing my master's thesis. My professor was one of the most it was the beginning, it was a good news back then, but basically this was one of the toughest professors I have ever encountered. He had, I didn't know because I was desperate back then. He had one of the hardest ratings in the Rate My Professor, like one of the worst ratings possible.
Wow.
And then actually I didn't notice something before, is that under his lab, only the international students were working. So none of the Americans were actually working because
They couldn't survive.
They couldn't survive, and they didn't have to stick because international students are tied to their visa and they are more like binding there. Anyway, my master's thesis was in nanofabrication or thin film fabrication, but by the time my master's degree got over, I got completely desensitized with like my master's thesis and everything. I was like, I'm done. And I have decided that, okay, like I went through kind of like another existential crisis, just kind of like bringing long story short, this is in the end of 2011 already. That time I had a big kind of decision making point again. So I had one decision making point from Bangladesh to US, and then end of 2011 I have another decision making point, is that I do not like thin film fabrication. I do not like to work with this kind of tools because this doesn't give me a freedom. I have seen some of my alumni who are working in Intel and big companies, but I'm not saying that those professions are not good, those are very worthwhile, but for me I needed more freedom and not dependent on a lab or not dependent on a in-person location kind of a thing. I wanted always something which is very easily learnable as a skill, and I can also do something on the side and become independent. So I started thinking, what is the measure or what is the field which is in that way, and I figured out that I actually always liked Adobe Premiere Pro when I was in my university making movies. I always liked software and tools. Like I loved tools. Okay. And play with tools, software tools. And I realized that, okay, like I have never given actually like computer tools or technologies a chance. I always only studied engineering.
And dealt with hardware.
Only
mostly.
hardware, primarily
Yeah.
hardware, primarily even on fabrication level, like material science.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let me give a chance to the software and tools. And basically, I decided that okay, I'll do a major career switch. One of my friends in New York, or actually not a friend, friends of friend in New York, said that hey, Siam, in New York there is this tutoring center. If you come there in person, they will teach you programming and help you land a job. So I'm like, okay, like I basically had some hope that okay, I'll move to New York. I visited New York before, and I always had a dream of being there. And whenever I thought that oh, there are some leads there, I basically informed my professor. Actually, one small thing is that when I graduated, I was working in OPT in my professor as a lab manager, because OPT it's like very low paid and almost voluntary level fees my professor was paying, and I knew pretty much everything of his systems. I was doing that, but obviously not happy. Suddenly this New York option came. So that time I had, I think like only $3,000 saved in cash in bank. And then I had a $3,000 old Nissan Altima, almost broken. So I basically told my professor that, hey, I actually got an opportunity, got a job in New York, which wasn't true. I basically kind of like lied there, like because my professor will not let me go otherwise. So I said that hey, I got a job in New York. I have to actually like leave. So I'll organize everything within a month, but then I'll leave. So in Houston, starting from Houston, I started with this $3,000 in cash, and with this broken Nissan Altima, I started towards New York. And after going to New York, actually the first thing I heard from this friend of friend, he said that, oh, we actually do not do this training anymore. So that's basically my, I would say like another beginning of my another difficult,
Quest.
very difficult journey. I think for today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can continue from this in our upcoming episode, and we'll hear about your second quest or second journey, however you say. Until then, keep in touch, and thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Tarek.
Okay, Siam, good to have you back again with us. In the last episode, we heard about your total journey from starting your masters to finishing it successfully, like while staying in Houston. And then you started the story of the next phase when you moved to New York and started another journey of your life in US. So if you could tell us what happened when you moved to US. Now you are a fresh graduate, of course you are looking for a new career or new scope to nurture your entrepreneurial journey. We are eager to know what happened then.
Yeah, I mean, at that time I wasn't really in the mental position to think about entrepreneurial journey, but actually now that you say it, actually that was probably my decision making framing. I don't know if I shared it in the last episode, but my master's was in thin film fabrication. It was funded by Texas Instruments, which is basically like a semiconductor slash, like it's
really
a
big name.
Yeah. It's basically like Intel or like semiconductor producer or however you name this industry.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the type of the job, and my entire career previously was in electrical engineering. I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering, master's also in electrical and electronic engineering. I have never done software, but I thought that I forgot what is the term, is that there is this term called sunk cost fallacy. So if you have already invested somewhat into a process, even if you realize that it's the wrong decision, sunk cost fallacy is that I have already invested, let's keep digging the hole. So I was like, okay, I do not want to fall into the sunk cost fallacy. Sure, I did invest 6 years of my life in electrical engineering, but I was in Bangladesh and then I moved to US, got scholarship. I really didn't have any freedom to choose the major which I liked. So I had a very long kind of like, I would say like big existential crisis decision making process in the beginning of 2012. I graduated from my master's in December 2011. From January, I was working in this lab with my lab supervisor. So almost for the first 4 months, I was being a lab manager in my OPT that day, like you can do a voluntary kind of job in that situation. in a low paid job in my lab. But I was thinking that how do I choose, like should I shift to something or not shift? And bringing to this entrepreneurial, I think I didn't know this label entrepreneur or anything, but my thing was that I wanted to choose a skill which is, it's silly how I made the decision. I thought that okay, if I go to Intel, if I go to Texas Instruments, if I work there for 5 years, can I start another Intel? I was like, no, the answer was no. Starting a Intel requires massive capital. At least back then, starting a hardware business, or heavy tech, deep tech businesses were very difficult. It was unthinkable. So I thought that okay, I wanted to learn a skill which I can do something on the side and which can transition to entrepreneurship, or at least freelancing, or give me some freedom of some form. So yeah, I did choose that based on like, okay, I'll go and pursue something in software. That was my starting in Houston. And basically, as I said in the little bit in the last episode, that I told my lab supervisor, manager, my thesis supervisor, that hey, like I actually landed a job in New York. I'm going to move to New York. So I sold I left everything. I had $3,000 in cash. I had an old Nissan Altima, almost broken, and started driving from Houston to New York, which is like a straight driving is 24 hours drive, just drive.
Okay.
So I had few more other people who are planning to go to New York, so I made it a hitchhiking kind of a trip where people are going and we are dropping off whatever. But fun thing is that, I mean, and we saw, like we made it multi-day. Instead of making it one day driving, we made it a 1 week driving event, because I love traveling. So basically we are traveling through all the states, like basically Tennessee, Louisiana, so all the southern states and going north. So in Tennessee, if you ever visit, there is this beautiful thing called like a mountain called Smoky Mountains. I love it. It's very beautiful. While we were driving through Tennessee, our car in the mountains, mountain roads, this $3,000 old Nissan Altima,
it broke.
It basically like started shaking on the highway. And then suddenly we heard like a doof, like a burst. So basically on the front tire, so back tire, the tire got burst. The tire, it was like on the highway. So we was like, so basically my friend Pratik, he was driving, who has a architectural firm right now in Houston. So I guess he was also an entrepreneur, but I mean he's a full entrepreneur right now. But anyway, we're both driving. He was driving, I was in the shotgun seat. We had to stop, and then we stayed in a random hotel in Tennessee and fixed the car. But anyway, that was I would say I didn't realize, I think that was the first signal that this year will be eventful. So 2012 will be going down. It will be a bear market in my life, and basically that was the starting indicator. Anyway, we fixed the thing. It was a really fun, adventurous trip. Like we went to the Kentucky Fried Chicken. We went to the first KFC shop ever. So it's called Sanders Cafe. So, and then we went to so we went to a lot of like fun things on the way. Anyway, I moved to New York. Remember that I had this like only 3,000 budget, which is pretty much impossible in New York. New York is very expensive, as everyone knows. So I was staying in a like shared room. Not only it's shared, it's a shared bunk bed, like one bunk bed, second floor bunk bed. I was paying $300 per month for that, and even that is a steal, because I was living in Jamaica, which is a more like a little bit shady side of Queens. And then there were rats on the roof, like literally, like it's like really shitty kind of situation. Like, and I had while I was doing my masters, I was very much into photography, so I had a DSLR. Nice, my favorite DSLR, which I bought pretty much before the graduation of the December. Like, I think I bought it in just few months ago. So immediately after I moved to New York, the second day, because I live this is a communal house, there are like 20 people living. The next day the DSLR got missing. So I lost my DSLR got stolen when I was in, because you understand, everyone is struggling here. It's a tough community. Like not in a like a very difficult financial community, let's say. Like obviously people who are paying 300 rent for New York is like going to be in a different financial condition. So anyway, so I was there doing that. And then I don't know if I covered it in the last episode, but I had a friend of friend person, was not really a friend but friend of friend kind of thing. He said that, hey Siam, no worries, you come to New York, we are going to train you in software. He had a software training boot camp or something. The moment I went to New York, immediately basically he said that, oh no, we are not doing this anymore.
Wow.
So basically, like, I literally left everything for my hopes and dreams for one person, basically. And I realized, oh shoot, like I was really dumb to do that. I mean, obviously.
You just moved there without any other backup plans.
I did not have any backup plans. This is a fundamental error or a character flaw I have, is that I have maybe one backup, like one plan usually. I am someone who is like figuring it out kind of person. So anyway, that happened and I was like, oh shoot, what do I do now? I'm already in New York. But I mean, my backup plan is New York. Like New York is a city which I felt the energy the first time I visited, and I would still say New York is truly a
city.
It's a mega beast. Like it's difficult to compare New York with any other city I've lived in. And I've lived in more than 10 cities in my life. New York has a lot of opportunities. It will push you. Like, I mean, I can talk about hours for New York. I'm a big New York fan. Anyway, I mean, I only saw the dark side of New York in 2012. Every month, I think the first 1 or 2 months, it was just bad news after bad news. So in my master's, actually, I also didn't get time to share this, is that I'm a very, I mean, as you know, like I'm an adventurous person. When I got the funding, I bought a camera. I was doing a lot of things. Like I was doing a lot of fun, adventurous things. I think I mentioned a little bit is that US has 50 states and I wanted to see majority of the states while I'm doing the masters, because I have to do it. So I was in Colorado, also another favorite state of mine, for ski, like for a ski trip. We were doing skiing and then we were doing snowmobiling. And while snowmobiling, I basically fell down and my left arm got dislocated. So from here it was literally here, like on the opposite side. Anyway, let's not go into tangent. Fixing that arm in US was a beast in terms of expense because when you get hurt in US or any kind of health, obviously whatever is the insurance, it covers somewhat. There is co-pay. I didn't know all these things because I'm originally from Bangladesh, so I don't know this like co-pay and like this medical health insurance, blah blah blah, like all these terms are new. So I had to learn all these terms. So basically I didn't have the money for basically my arm dislocation fixing, because they had to put a plaster. There was this thing, and then there was a lot of therapy sessions. Therapy sessions are not covered in the copay because only like there are a lot of complexities here. So I think I was using all these credit cards. So like in US you can have all these credit cards, and I didn't have the good credit cards because as a student when you move, your credit score is really bad because you have no data of the last, and you're not able to migrate your back home's data, and maybe where you came home from they don't even have a financial data set. So when I moved, you have to build it's like a poverty cycle. So it's like you don't have a credit score, we won't give you, and because you won't get the credit card, you won't be able to build a credit score. So it's a poverty cycle kind of a situation. Anyway, I had very bad, very shitty credit cards, and almost all of them had like almost 25 to 29% APR, like brutal APR. Anyway, so by the time I moved to New York, because of the previous things, I think I already had 12,000 in debt, means like credit card, and I was paying insane amount per month to credit card companies, and they were all maxed out.
Was it after you broke your arm or even before that?
No, from the breaking the arm, there was a big expense. I think it was like 6,000 almost net total. And then after moving to New York, I had $3,000 cash, so it's not enough. So I bought some stuff. So by that time, slowly accumulating, I think by the end of the year, it was almost like 18,000, minus 18,000 in credit card debt. And I forgot how much it was. I think I was paying almost 5 to 600, I don't know, I don't remember, something around that per month in interest.
Wow.
Because I am not able to pay off the capital at all. So I also realized that, okay, like this is a system, this is how companies make money. There is this whole fintech, like finance industry, which operates completely on this model. And this is not something I've seen in Bangladesh too much in that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are all small learning and data points. The first couple of months in New York, I had this small cash. You cannot pay most of these things in credit cards. So every month was becoming more stressful. Number one is that I don't know how will I land a job. This is one side of the stress. Again, questioning my decision. Again, the previous deja vu situation that I again fucked up. I should have stayed in Houston. My master's was good. I had a lot of people who are in my network. I could have landed a good oil and gas job in Houston because I had a network. Again, same story, back like my decision making from Bangladesh to US. I asked everyone in Houston that, hey, should I move or not? 9 out of 10 people said that you should stay in Houston. There are a lot of oil and gas jobs. You are an electrical engineer, you'll get a job, very high paying job. But same, oil and gas, like I didn't want to do hardcore engineering job because it doesn't give me that type of freedom.
Yeah.
Only Pratik, this guy, this friend, entrepreneur friend, he said that, Siam, you are a driven guy, passionate guy, just go for it. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the repeat movie here, so let's just, you know. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Anyway, so coming here, I had on one side that, okay, I don't know what's the next stage. How would I navigate landing a software job, because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate because you're also in similar transition in your life.
Yes.
And then on the other side, my runway was going down. So first I am paying from the cash, the credit card debt, 500 to 600 per month. I have 3,000 cash. I'm paying rent. Everything going. So I had maybe 3 months of runway, maximum. Food, everything, 3 months. So every 1 month was getting more stressful. Like, what will I do after the 3 months?
So during that time, you were not considering doing any like part-time job, any?
Oh, I was considering, but I talked with every connection, every friend I knew, every person I knew. I was talking to all of them, but New York is new, so I didn't have so many connections, and it's not like odd jobs are abundant. Even that is difficult to find. It's a new city for me. It's like restarting again in another city. So what I did is that anyway, so I think probably almost at the 2.5 month time, after talking with I think more than 100 friends of friends and networks, and you know, like student association friends, network of network friends, everything. There are so many unhopeful discussions with so many people, so many negatives. Eventually one said that, hey Siam, like we might have a opening in this, like, you know, like the in New York there are like this halal gyro stands. So they sell the gyro, like the halal gyro, halal guys, like it's very popular in New York, one of the signature of New York. In the halal gyro, first they said that, hey, like you don't have experience on the front end, so front end and back end. So front end on the halal gyro, but before you load the things in the gyro, you can work in this
back kitchen.
No, back kitchen means like loading this burger patties. Loading the patties, it's all in the frozen. Frozen, like so your work is in the back end. It's a full physical labor job. You have to load all these big patties, big things with this movement thing. I don't know what is it called, pulley or whatever. And then you move it from the freezer, get it out on the door, pack it on the car, and then the car drives. So that was I would say like almost two months that job I did, but it was insanely physically difficult because I'm not like a muscle man or something. I'm a normal strength person. So, but I was doing it. I mean, it was a shit job, but it was paying my rent, and I was able to pay off my debt. I mean, so rent, debt combined, I think my monthly expense was, I mean, debt was 500 to 600, rent was 300, and I think 200 food. Let's say 1,000 was my monthly burn rate, which is like under the water in New York. It's insane. And actually 500 per month, because 500 was debt payment.
That means you were living a very limited life. I mean, no recreation, no extra.
Recreation, even food is minimized. Like recreation is much later. Same clothes, multiple days, like the lowest. So I was in that for like I was doing this job for 2 months, but obviously it was difficult. So I was like getting to know more and more people in New York and blah blah. So as you know that I was in OPT, and in OPT you cannot really be unemployed for more than 90 days, you know.
Yeah.
So there was one favor my professor did, is that he was basically giving me this like voluntary, he said that you can show it as a voluntary experience, it's okay. So I didn't have that pressure. I did have the pressure that my OPT will run out and the OPT extension time will come and I cannot do voluntary thing anymore. So that was the thing. So that was giving me this 1 year runway, at least like in terms of immigration, not financial runway, but immigration protection. So I found another job in a party hall. It was in Woodhaven, New York. I mean, anyone who lives in New York, they would be able to relate. So this party hall was like a party hall where there are like marriage ceremonies, wedding ceremonies.
Yeah.
And my job there was like to carry wash the dishes. So, and then bring all the dishes and put on the table.
Yeah.
For 800 to 1000 people per event, per day.
Wow.
So it was an insane high velocity kind of thing. But there I met a lot of, both in this gyro stand experience and also here, I actually met so many smart people. You cannot believe. I had a colleague from Nepal, colleague from Iran, another lady from Pakistan, many immigrants from many countries actually. I mean, I'm not mentioning any specific names or countries here. One of them had bachelor's in nuclear engineering. Another one had some HR degree, like smart people, like they are smart people, they are vetted people. They had these degrees from their back home countries and they came here through some immigration process. And I was like, wow, these guys are like all doing this job, but they're capable, they're under in their capacity. And it's not like they're not smart, they're just not able to figure out, the immigration maze is very complex. And they just do not have the network so that they can connect, and landing a job in the US in general is difficult. And if you're an immigrant, it's more complex because of these immigration rules. So I met all these smart people, and that's also another time which I realized, I mean, this will all come later in my entrepreneur, like how actually my company got born. But these are all the data which eventually inspired me, that I realized that there are so many people who are struggling who are also smart in their first phase of their life. Anyway, in this party hall, this manager also was like a restaurant manager, kind of like uneducated person. And I have seen so much abuse. Like he was obviously abusive towards me verbally, but this Pakistani female colleague, he was physically abusive, literally physically abusive. She came to us and always cried. And I said, oh, hey, why are you not leaving? She's like, this is my only job. Like I have kids to feed. Like, what will I do? Will I report him? I will be, before he is deported from the country, he is a green card holder or US citizen. I will be missed. And you will not believe it, big part of immigrants, I shouldn't say majority, big part of immigrant community are completely abused because of this immigration situation. Very low pay rates. I was working in this thing, the party hall. I was working 10 hours every day, and after whole 10 hours, my whole hourly rate, total cash given in hand was 50. So my hourly rate was $5, while New York State's minimum wage is like, I think that time it was 8 or 9, I don't know, something like that. So I was paid minimum than hourly wage, 10-hour work days. And it's very common in New York to utilize the struggles of the immigrants in this state and give them low pay and maximize the suffering stage, because it's low pace, low cost. Let's extend your visa forever if possible, so that we can pay you $5 per hour. So yeah, I've seen like all these, and in this territory everything is so dark. I think you imagine that nothing is nice there, like no hope, everything is dark. People are abusing, misusing each other. Lot of competition, lot of ugly competition, not like healthy competition. And then basically after this job I found another job finally, which was a little bit better blue collar job. So this was actually a Bangladeshi founder American restaurant, but Indian restaurant. Labeled as Indian restaurant because obviously bigger brand.
Obvious reason.
Yeah, bigger brand. And a premium Indian restaurant. It's called Saffron.
Yeah.
So very fancy. And this was actually my favorite. Like out of all the jobs I've done, this was my favorite blue collar
collar
job,
job.
which I actually enjoyed.
Okay.
So here I started, and then okay, normal restaurant. By this time I know how to handle restaurants from my previous Danish experience. I am
Yeah.
more experienced person here. So I was doing the restaurant. Within 2 or 3 months, I think this manager, he was so happy. He basically gave me the entire managerial role of the entire shop. First I started only as a host person, server, blah blah. Then like, no, Siam, you can do this. Oh, you can do the accounting. Oh, you can do this. He was giving me everything. I was managing pretty much everything. But he was obviously an entrepreneur, and he was giving me also very bad rates. Like this part was, you know, like consistently bad.
Yeah.
And he's an entrepreneur. I get it. Like entrepreneurs will not, like, you have to go through your own pain. Like no one is going to give you any relaxation, because you know, like you have to learn through the process. I'm sure he also had his hard journey. Like I cannot question his decision. And he wasn't like a abusive person. He was just like a very like cheap, like a very like he wasn't giving me too much money, but he was a nice person, like not a rude person. There was this story, but I was still making kind of low, you know, in restaurant like $5 per hour is still low. But by that time, so yeah, I was doing this, and then I remember one specific story in the restaurant is that I think the restaurant closes at around like 11 p.m. or something, roughly around 11 p.m. At the end of this, like I think at like 11:55, there was this lady, like a white old lady. She came, and she basically came and said that, hey, like I'm very hungry, I'm craving Indian food, everything is shut down, can you let me in? I was like, no, it's like too late. And my manager also said that, hey, like shut it down, no worries, like blah blah or something. Or so basically, oh no, my manager said, hey Siam, if you can do it, do it. But he was obviously not there, and I already am overworked. But I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, I will not make any extra money out of it, because he doesn't pay anything, and he also in this taxing and stuff, he's in the tips also. He was taking my tips as well. So as I said, he was a soft-spoken guy, like verbally not abusive, but actually very cheap. So like a different type of problem. So whatever the tips they write in the check, you know, like check or whatever, if it is not given in cash, there was no way I was able to take the tips. If it is given in the credit card, you write how much in the tips, he was taking the tips.
Wow.
Anyway, so I was like, this lady, she came, and I was like really talking, and we talked. I mean, she was very chill. She thanked me so many times that, hey Siam, thank you so much for, what's your name? Oh, what is Siam? And I said, oh, it's from Ramadan, and we had a good connection. She was very nice and genuinely curious, and she was like, oh, she heard my story, like, wow, you are like really strong, and like you're doing a lot as for your age, and like you're doing a lot alone and stuff. Just before leaving, she literally gave me in the thing, like in the, you know, like in the payment, this hidden
Handbook.
menu handbook. I opened it and I saw like $100 bill cash, literally for my tips, and I think she had like probably $40 of food. So my tip was 100.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, like, oh, like, do I need to change? Like, what is the thing? Like, no, Siam, you keep it. Like, you like, I literally like, I was so emotional that time. Every day I was making $50. So 100 is my 2 days of 20 hours of works payment. She said that, Siam, not only you keep the money, if you need any help, I am your mom in New York. If someone bullies you, I am very well connected in New York. I know a lot of people. I'm an original New Yorker. She was a real estate kind of like agent, and she was so impressed, and she's still in my like connection now, like she's still a friend. And she said that, hey, yeah, like, no, like, just keep it, treat yourself. So there was really like this, you know, like even in this struggle moments, there are like all these like angels who will come in your life and then give this little bit water, which will feel like a lot. Now 100 doesn't feel anything for me, but it's kind of like sad that like in life, you know, you when you have a lot, you completely don't feel that much. 100 feels low, but that time it's kind of, I mean, without really destroying my life, it would be kind of nice to go back and being able to appreciate the $100 bills again when you get it for the first time, because it's so special. Anyway, so but just before that similar type of situation, that I was in New York, I was sitting, I remember so many times in the F train, J train, because I was living both in Queens sometimes and in Brooklyn. like crying in the middle of the 3 a.m. in the subway station. If you ever visit New York, there's a subway station and literally sitting and crying. So obviously this 100 is not much for software development, yeah. But that time, especially in that moment of my life, it was a lot. It felt like a lot. So in the meantime, obviously that's not my main job. I was just doing all these things to kind of like as a survival, pretty much. But I also had this OPT ticking time bomb that, sure, I have this voluntary experience, but that is running out. I think I had probably 5 to 6 months left. And OPT extension, it has to be related to your major. You cannot show your voluntary experience. It has to be a paid job. There are a lot more complexities. Yeah. So my stress was building up, both because I wasn't saving any money. I was just literally brim to brim, month to month, no savings. So obviously that couldn't sustain long. In the meantime, parallelly, what I started doing is that I started talking to, again, a lot of people, and again, just gathering data on software. That software is a big field. What do I start with? Some people are saying Java is big, do Java. Some another people, that time there was like SAP, man, do SAP. And then some other people were saying like mobile app. Like that time Apple was just kicking up, like released in 2009, that was 2012, very fresh, very early, baby. One of the friends were saying iOS development actually only, but QA, do QA, software testing, Selenium like testing, BA, business analyst. All the things I was hearing, I'm like, I can do all of them. Like all of them sounds good, but what do I start? Like what do I do? So I guess like some of the parameters of my decision making based on all this information I was getting was that, like, number one, which has I have to focus on the salary, which has a good starting salary and a good salary growth. More and more people I was talking with, this was factor number one. Factor number two is that which is least fireable, like last person to get fired. Because defensibility is important. I am in OPT extension, immigrants cannot be fired, because when they are fired, they have to leave the country. It's not only leaving the company. So that was another one. And then another one is that, okay, do I like it? Like, do I actually like that, whatever I'm doing? So I was QA, BA, blah, blah, blah. I started doing some QA training. I didn't like it that much, honestly, and the salary growth, and when I heard that these are not good. Finally, luckily, I bumped into iOS development, and such a amazing career to start with the Apple ecosystem, like such a smooth, like I loved the Apple ecosystem as a developer. So I started building. Basically, I had a mentor back then, and basically I got some money and bought a Mac. And this was an investment, but I was convinced that this is the right thing to do. And for the reasons is that, number one, Apple developers were one of the highest paid developers back then. More than Android, more than any developers. It's the most premium and most niche. It's not a very common language. Objective-C, no one uses it. And whoever was giving me the advice said that, like, problem with this job is that it's a very niche job, but if you get it, you will be doing really well, because it's not too many people knows Objective-C. That time market was empty, honestly. So there was one. Salary growth was high. Development in general, salary growths are high in development roles. And then finally, what was the other factor I was considering? Like, defensibility was high, that firing. Yeah, these are, I think, like, there was a good one. Do I like it? When I heard that Objective-C is like making iOS apps, I was instantly able to connect other than SAP or any other roles, because I have been using few like apps by then, not my phone. I was an Android user back then, but I'm saying that I've seen some iOS apps in my friend's phone and the senior brother's phones. And I was like, okay, I want to make something which I can build and I can touch it. Me personally,
you can interact with the things.
I can play with it, and my friends can play with it, and I can make something and show my friends that, hey, I made it, you play with it. So I'm like, wow, this is like a perfect thing. And I started learning iOS development while I was doing this restaurant, all these things on the side, YouTube videos, and this mentor was actually really helping me. And he also had a kind of like an income share agreement with me, that he was teaching, but that's how I got the. I mean, these are all coming to algorithm.
Okay.
all
these
coming.
ideas.
These ideas are all getting embedded into my database without me noticing them. And he was a very senior iOS developer, Vivian. Right now, he's in Delta, very very senior role, and amazing guy, originally from India, and yeah, awesome. I have a lot of respect for him because he kind of taught me. I think it took me almost 4 to 5 to 6 months to do the basics. So I was doing all these things and parallelly doing it and doing interviews. And eventually I would say I think on the 10th month of my OPT, 10th month, which is last, I have to apply for my OPT extension. Otherwise I'm doomed, immigration wise. That's the month, April 2013, again, will not forget it. I got a job in Farmers Insurance, which is a insurance company based out of LA primarily, but global, like national in US. But insurance company, this Farmers Insurance project was collaborated with Toyota, where the job was that I have to build a automated personalized insurance quotation service, where we will basically it's connected with Toyota, that they will embed it into the cars or like in the users apps, so that based on their driving habits, how fast they accelerate, how quick they brake, based on that the insurance quotation will be generated. So that was the first my iOS project. Anyway, so I landed the job. It wasn't an insane salary because it was my first job. I'm not from a software background. 60K annually. I had a massive jump, and there was a big release that I had this 18,000. Just imagine that, $18,000 in February 2012, $18,000 in debt, credit card, no more like moving month to month, doing these odd jobs. OPT is running out, OPT extension, 2 more months remaining. And that's the time when I heard the news that I got this 55 to 60K job, first job, and then which will resolve my OPT extension, immigration issues, and then basically solve my financial issues. So that was basically my starting point of my software journey, and a big like end of a very very tough year, 2012, one of my toughest year in my US career. So that's
Thank you,
basically
Sam, for sharing your journey. Like I can see it was really tough. I have noticed few things from your story, that every time you are in the lowest point your journey or your life, there is someone come as a rescuer, like couple of person at least I have noticed, and you sound very grateful and humble towards their contribution, however they contributed in that point of your life, and I believe that's very important. I've also noticed that no matter how busy you are or how hard your life is, you always have a knack for building network, and that's a really early sign, network. I mean, you always invest in building network and invest also in maintaining it. That's another great thing I've noticed. And finally, what I have seen, you know where you are heading. I mean, not in long term, but at least in short term. But there is always small detour in the journey, and so you know it, that whatever I'm doing, it's for time being. My final destination is there. So
I have just a small note I forgot to mention is that I think from this year, and thank you for sharing all this. This year means that year.
Yeah.
My biggest, one of the major learning was that whenever you are in doubt in terms of your career switch, because I was in electrical engineering 6 years of my life, but that wasn't done through choice. That was done through more like societal pressure and not knowing it. I was young, and I'm so glad that I didn't fall into the sunk cost fallacy. I actually basically got out of the thing and took the risk. Of course, whenever you are in a more stable path, even if it is wrong, it feels more stable. It's important for me, at least, to be in the right path, even if it is unstable in the beginning, because it's not possible to get stability and like alignment in career at the same time. You have to make some jumps. So this was a massive jump, and I wanted to add one point is that in my life there are of course all these small micro decisions, but there are some mega decisions I have made which completely permanently changed the trajectory of my life. One was moving from Bangladesh to US, substantial, like different swing. Another one was moving from electrical engineering to software. This is such a profound change in my life. The impact is multi-year, multi-decade in my life. So if I have not taken that risk and stayed in electrical engineering, I would have not come here. So it's primarily because of software. So just wanted to mention that even if it was risky, I took the risk, and I'm happy that I took the risk and to switch my career. So that's a small side note.
Thank you for adding that also. And yeah, we heard a lot of interesting stories, smaller stories, highs and lows. So far we know that you started your career successfully in tech. When I say tech, like software engineering. Of course we know that you rode higher up and became successful in your career. We would like to hear that stories, and we'll continue it in the next episode. Until then, take good care and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tariq.
All right, Siam. Now that we have heard how you landed your first tech jobs, first software engineering job, coming from an electrical engineering background, and you've landed a decent package also compared to your previous job. We would like to know, how was it like from starting from junior to mid senior to all the way was it you became a manager, or
I became an assistant vice president.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I want to hear all these career progression in your tech career, if you could share with us.
Sure. So yeah, this was 2013 April. I started in this farmers insurance company, and the first job was really a lot of fun. Actually, we were driving on the roads of LA with my Mac, which is a more highly powered Mac given from the company, and with my iOS app, because we were real-time location tracking and testing the app. So it was not just a development job; it was also a roaming around LA job. So a lot of fun, really cool job.
Indeed.
But I was doing this thing through a kind of like a consulting or a staffing company. So in US there are all these corp to corp companies. I didn't know all these terms. There are consulting companies, vendors, clients. I didn't know any of these terms, but obviously because I started doing this job because it wasn't directly with farmers insurance, it was through this staffing company. It's called Tech Systems. It's actually pretty big. Actually not directly with Tech Systems. Under Tech Systems there was another Indian staffing company. Yeah, I'll not reveal the name just for the privacy of the company. Anyway, so I was doing the job, and first thing I realized, I think I was in this LA job for 1 year, not 1 year actually, 10 months. And this was basically one of my most favorite experiences, because I love LA. And then I was really enjoying the iOS development world. So amazing to be able to work with Xcode. So I was having so much fun in the first job, because Xcode is such an amazing ecosystem to work with. It was based in LA. I was driving around, and honestly I had the best time working with the team in that company. It was with collaboration with Toyota. It was just such a cool first project, to be honest. I didn't feel that I was too far from engineering also, because there was a software, but also there is this
engineering process.
Yeah, there are a lot of data which were also coming from different mechanic, driving speed. These are physics. Yeah. So not only just a software development work. And again, a big fan of Xcode and development, the entire Apple ecosystem. I became not a Apple snob, but I love the Apple ecosystem development wise. I think almost 10 months later, basically that contract ended, and this was all contractual roles. So that is the first time when I actually got exposed that like these are contractual roles. This is not a full-time thing, like not permanent or stable. And that was like, oh shoot, I was thinking I was kind of enjoying and happy, but it's actually I'm in OPT extension and I cannot be unemployed for too many days. And especially when I can transfer to H1B, I cannot be unemployed for more than 60 days, which is insane, that you have to find a job within 2 months, which is insane. I realized that, okay, it's better for me to actually find a better job. So when the project ended, I started looking for a job. I had some, by that 10 months of contractual job, I was able to pay off all the debts. My credit score got better. Everything was more stable, because before that, I was so bad that even when I was applying for more credit cards, all the companies were rejecting me. Because I was like, okay, you are not credit worthy anymore. But anyway, so all these things were healing. The financial health was healing properly, and I paid off. I mean, I'm just talking about credit card debts. I also had like real friends debt. I think more like 10,000 also cash debt from friends. So I paid off all these things. After this 10 month, I actually landed a job also through the same vendor, through the same consulting company, but another project. This was in Baltimore, Maryland, which is in a completely different side of the world, opposite side from Pacific to Atlantic. And this was in a financial investment or like financial institution called T. Rowe Price. They handle people's mutual funds, 401ks, things like that. So when I landed a job, I had zero idea about what are these terms. But anyway, I moved to Baltimore. The only thing I knew about Baltimore is through a show called The Wire. I don't know if you have seen it. It's a very fun, like entourage kind of show. But anyway, I didn't have a good view about how Baltimore is, but obviously it changed after I traveled. It has a lot of crime. Baltimore has in general a lot of big crime rates. Anyway, I started the job, and so on the learning side, it was pretty smooth. I was working with a lot of different teams from different countries. It was a larger team. There are also a lot of we went through a lot of agile meetings with outside of the office. Like this was a more wholesome learning experience, I would say, in terms of technology learning. So, I mean, I don't want to go deep into Objective-C, but different sides, like also Scrum, like I learned a little bit more like management style things also, like process things, not only coding in this job. But in the meantime, my OPT extension was running out eventually, and I was in my last time of my OPT extension. Remember that I lost my first 1 year in OPT, so I didn't get to apply for my H1B. The second year I could have applied for my H1B, but consulting company, they were obviously not the most favorable situation for me. Did not apply for the H1B. They said, no, Siam, no, it's okay, Siam, we'll apply next year. It's okay, man. So I was there. Basically, as I said, this H1B and all these visas are basically modern day slavery visa. As long you are there, the better for the companies, because they can give you lower rates, blah, 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 all these things. So I started with 60K, it became 70K, like I think in 14, like after 1 year after I changed the project. But still not that big of a jump, because these consulting companies were taking a big percentage of the actual payment from the actual client company. And because it's multi-layered, T. Rowe Price was paying tech systems was paying consulting, everyone was taking a cut. I got a small cut. So anyway, immigration wise, with this consulting company, I finally was like, dude, like this is my last year in OPT extension. If you're not applying for my H1B, I cannot work. So finally of course they will be convinced, because I am an asset back then, because they are also making money through me.
Through you, yeah.
It's not like they're doing anything for charity here. So they applied for my H1B. I forgot, it was 2014 or 15, I guess, I forgot. Applied for my H1B, lottery got picked, everything, all good. Applied for the actual H1B, and then I got RFE. RFE is request for evidence. Okay. This is a traumatic thing, because...
Is this a standard process, or it's...
No. It's like you apply for the H1B and then you get approved if you are doing it from a legitimate and proper company. But this is a consulting company, and then their paperwork were shady. The USCIS gave me RFE, and the moment I got the RFE, for the next 2 or 3 months, I couldn't sleep properly, because it's so stressful. It can be denied. And the reason they said that, is that, and the lawyer they are working with, they were such a bad lawyer, meaning the lawyer responses were like 1 week later, 2 weeks later. like no response, basically. And I was waiting. And the lawyers, whenever they filled up the form, man, they had spelling errors in the form. I was like, are you like fucking nuts? That, sorry for the French in the videos. Like, you are taking like thousands of dollars, which you are cutting from my salary. Not that you are paying for my H1B also. I am paying, you are cutting it from my salary, which is actually technically not legal, but obviously I am in a crisis here. And the lawyers are making spelling mistake in a form. Let me fill up the form, man. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting agitated here. And taking like 8,000 or something, like a huge amount. Obviously you have to do spelling error here. And then I'm like, okay, of course you will do RFE because you didn't give anything. You did not do any proper work to not get the request for ADC. So I lost the faith on these lawyers as well. So I started digging out the internet and trying to be my own lawyer basically, because I couldn't pay for a lawyer myself payment wise. So I went through Quora, blah blah blah, forums and blah, all the websites. And then basically in this process I was in the RFE, you have to give the RFE response. That why is it good, and now given the proper paperwork. So what was missing is that when you are working corp to corp, you have to give your direct hiring letter, which was given, a MOU with this contract consulting company with the actual client company, and a client to me direct offer letter that, hey, I want to hire this as a contractor. These 3 letters must be given. And they knew it, but they didn't give the client letter. So, but then like, oh, Siam, can you ask your manager in Enterprise to give us, like, I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing there? I am doing basically all the work. So I had to convince my manager. Honestly, my manager in Enterprise, she is again,
another angel in your
godsend.
Yeah.
All these godsend moms I have in my life. Her name is Sian. She is a senior person, also the same name as me, Sian. We had an internal joke about it, like, how did I work under a manager named Sian, and I'm Siam. Anyway, she was very helpful towards me, and she gave me this client letter, and then we submitted it, and I was also pretty involved in the RSC response process, and then we submitted it, and luckily the H1B got approved. So big relief, man. Like, H1B was very stressful. I mean, I think everyone who is in H1B can relate. This is like bullshit. And then basically this consulting company, I started having like, hey, like, I got the H1B, like, can you apply green card for me? And basically what I realized that every person who has gone through H1B through this consulting company, H1B has a 3 years first run period, and then you can extend it, you can get 3 more years. So you have 6 years. No one in the alumni, no one got applied for green card before the 5 years. They will juice you completely out, and then after you have no juice left, they will apply for your green card, because they want to misuse you as much as possible, because they know that once you get the green card, you will probably leave, because it's abuse. How long can you stand this? Financial abuse, I mean. So luckily in the meantime, my manager's relationship and Enterprise, I became the de facto iOS guy in the, not only in my team, but also in the other teams. And I was treated the most premium. I had a separate type of desk, Mac ecosystem, really a very premium booth. You know, like, everyone's desk is there, Windows are like very low key, and I have the fanciest booth suddenly. So outside booth, not like a room booth, like in the like common space, but a Mac booth. All these experiences, all these learnings I had. I used to make movies, I used to love making videos, I was doing online videos. I don't know how it all started coming into the thing. So I started saying, whenever I went to these common meetings, I was saying that, hey, do you guys need any help? We can make them videos. I started building like a video library, because there was no documentation. So I started building like a in-company video library for technical documentation. And this was completely as a voluntary. My manager didn't say anything to me. I'm like, yeah, Siam, if you want to do it, why not, if you like it. But what started happening is that all the other organizations started noticing me, because like, oh, Siam is building a video library, and I went to them, oh, what tools did you use? I'm like, oh, these are the tools, I can teach you how to make videos. So because of these videos, my footprint was getting inside the organization automatically, and I was a developer also, but this was, I would say, like the transitioning to a manager role, I would say here slowly, because of this trying to help the other people. And I think through my hand, I hired at least 4 people in the iOS development role. I basically just did interviews, like a lot of my friends and good people. They are all many of them are in Enterprise right now.
They were deserving the position.
They were deserving the position, but I was the interviewer and I did the internal referral. Like I could at least pass through the application process. They came to the interview. Of course, there are other people, but I did the internal referral, which is common and fair and valid.
Cool. Yeah.
Valid, nothing, no nepotism or anything here. Yeah, so that's how I was basically getting into a more, getting more visibility in the career side and in more managerial roles. And my manager actually said that, hey Siam, like you're doing so well, why don't you work with us directly instead of going to corp to corp?
Okay, so you were still working like as a consultant?
Consultant, yeah.
Okay.
So like, Siam, you're making so much of things, like why don't you? But I'm like, no, I think there is some non-compete or something. She said that we'll deal with that, like no worries. I think this was in end of 2015, beginning of 2016 when I basically got an offer. My salary was 120K. Before that, in this consulting, final after everything, it was I think 80K. So from 80K, I had a 120K jump instantly because I switched the
so almost
50% raise. And also the thing is that when I talked with my manager, I kind of discussed with her that, hey, the reason I'm coming direct is that I need to be applied my green card immediately, no waiting period. And my manager was very helpful. Enterprise has not done green card like in that all department kind of way that back then, but my manager helped me really a lot with my green card process. And honestly, with the green card with Enterprise, it was so smooth. I saw they hired the best lawyer firm, premium lawyer firm, like 20,000 fee, and like so professional behavior, perfect process, perfect. And from the application of my green card and getting my green card, it took 10 months only.
Wow,
it takes
so
usually
quick.
2 years.
Yeah.
So quick, smoothest. And Enterprise is a large organization, so it was kind of easy. In the meantime, I was kind of like enjoying this side, but the thing is that I was also running this, if you remember, this higher study abroad Facebook group.
Yeah, you know.
And I was trying to like kind of like make it work into some kind of entrepreneurship, like how to make money out of it. But honestly, what I realized is that it is very difficult to run a side hustle, because software jobs, solving problems, crushing bugs, like it does take a lot of your energy. No matter how work-life balance it is or something, it does like takes your energy, and it's very difficult to go home and build a completely, like starting a whole new company on your own. It's possible to join a team, but starting something completely is very difficult. So I tried some ideas and I didn't know much of entrepreneurship. But I realized one thing is that I cannot actually do actual thing as a side hustle, like actual startup I cannot do as a side hustle. So I started making money, like saving money. And by that time, I think by 2016, my salary and bonus together, all combined, it got more raise. I think finally it was like 140K, which is a considerable amount of money for Baltimore that time. And then two things were happening. Number one is that I am coming from an engineering background, as you know, engineering, software, technical background. I had zero idea about finances. But because I was working in a financial investment company, I understood all these financial vehicles, like, oh, money is a vehicle, what is an asset, what is debt, what is equity. I know these things obviously very well now. What is 401k, what is mutual fund, what are exchange traded funds. I didn't know anything about any finance. These are all jargons. So I started trading in the stock market because I am also related to the job, and I basically built the whole Enterprise iOS and later the Android app. So I am seeing all this data, all the track. So I know the things. So I thought, okay, why not learn the business logic of it, business side of it. So I really got interested into investing and into, just overall investing and money and how money operates, all these things. So that was really building up my financial or money muscle, which was completely missing from my lens because it's never trained in that way in engineering. And on the other side, because you remember that I had a very terrible budgeting behavior in my New York journey, minus 18,000 debt, so much negative, is because of a bad budgeting, bad money management skill, which is honestly not trained in the school. So
especially in Bangladesh,
it's missing. Yeah. So one of the things which I decided after I actually got the job, that I will be very savvy financially and budget wise. So I started following all these like kind of like online gurus and online videos of like how to manage money and budget. And I had a challenge that I will compete, like as much of the money Citibank has taken from me and Capital One has taken from me, my revenge will be that I will make more money from them. And I became like a credit card. I had so many credit card hacks. We cannot go with this topic today, but I became a credit card hacker. You know, like with credit cards, you get credit card points, and with that points, you can buy flight tickets. I actually had my whole Hawaii trip completely through points. Going to Hawaii, renting for a month, everything was done through Citibank's credit card point. And there is like this spending and like a lot of, this is a whole different league of credit card hacking, credit card mileage point hacking. Anyway, I became very budget savvy also because of all these things. So I started building my own financial runway, and my goal was to be able to at least save. So I was thinking like, okay, what is my monthly expense? I would say like my monthly expense and everything combined, I thought that my annual runway was 20,000, like annual expense runway was 20,000. It's not a luxurious living, but it's somewhat living, food and everything combined. That's my expense budget I was doing. And my goal was that I will exit my job full time when I have a 10 years runway. So I was basically for the last 3 years in my T. Rowe Prize, 2016, 17 and partially actually 18, I was saving $50,000 per annum. So I was basically just, I have 140K job, and then I was driving still like a very old car, $5,000 car. All my colleagues were driving Audis and everything, and all in the parking lot, and I never went to the parking lot with them. I was like, okay, no, you go first and I will go later. So I was really being cheap because I was like, okay, I have to compromise something. I cannot eat everything in life. So let me compromise on here so that I can become actually a full-blown entrepreneur and test out full-scale entrepreneurship. I did cut on a lot of these things. I was doing budget traveling and stuff like this free Hawaii trip. I was doing all the no money way or low money way of doing things. In 2017, I got my green card. That was one of my best, most relaxing day of my life, because green card, you can actually leave the job. But it's recommended that you stay at least 1 more year, so that it's kind of nice to the employer that you're not getting and immediately quitting, and it makes a good fair relationship with the employer. So just 1 year finished, February 2018, I had 200K in stock investments, which is obviously in a different financial condition. And my thesis was that, okay, if I have a 10-year runway, I will eat and sleep, like I'll be a very low maintenance because I know how to live in a very cheap way. If I'm not able to make a company startup in 10 years, startup is not for me. Like even if I'm the dumbest person in the room, I should be able to make it. And I heard this quote somewhere that if you want to, like if startup is all about rolling the dice game, like if you have the energy to roll the dice as many times as you want, you will eventually win it. It's a dice game, like it's a numbers game. Yeah, that's basically the time. February 2018, I informed my manager, actually from Sian it changed to Mike, another guy, that hey Mike, like I'm actually leaving the job. And I was like, Siam, you have one of the best jobs because you don't do any work. Actually, the last year, 2017, I think I was working 4 to 5 hours a day. 4 to 5 hours a week.
Wow.
Because I was such senior role and I knew the entire architecture, I was almost unfireable. Unless I steal something from there, they won't be able to fire me because I know the entire architecture and everything. Everything is dependent. All the junior developers are under me. So I became an assistant vice president. When I got the 2017 February, I got the green card. I got also promoted to assistant vice president in the technology department. I was handling their mobile and iOS apps and all this. But I left the company because it was getting very stagnant, and I was thinking that I went to that same phase again, that I'm feeling like this career stagnation again. Time to take the jump again. So I said that, hey Mike, I know that it's not the most common decision, but if in my previous jumps I was more doubtful, here I had no doubt, because I know that
You've done it quite a few times.
I have done 2 big times. I'm like, I know that I will fall down completely, and then whenever I fall down, when I rise, it will be 10 times higher than my previous fall. So in February 18 I left my job with 200k, which is a good amount of saving in my bucket. And yeah, that's like my Tiro Price career ending, or the full-time job ending.
Yeah, your full tech career ending. So thank you so much, Siam, for sharing your story. I can see this phase of your life is all about going up in the ladder and shining and learning lots of crucial aspects of preparation for moving into entrepreneurial journey. First of all, you are very cautious about future proofing your career. I mean, you just started your first junior position, but already back then you were thinking about how to make your career future proof. And then the most important thing is you sorted out your immigration stuff. I can imagine, like, this is like the 60% of the struggle, I mean, we have as an immigrant or expatriate. So you got that sorted out. And another important thing is also that you learn how to manage your personal finance. That's a very vital skills to have or build at that later phase of life. We can see that with all these skills you are moving towards, like, you are in a much better situation to start your entrepreneur journey at a full swing. We are looking forward to hear that part of the story in the next and final episode. Thank you for sharing all these stories, and until then, take care.
Yeah, thank you, Derek.
So Siam, in the last few episodes, we've heard about your journey from Bangladesh to United States. You have finished your master's, built your career in tech, and also we've heard that you've made a big leap of faith and started your entrepreneurial journey in the US. We are really looking forward to hear, like, how did it go from that point. I mean, you've been through a lot when you were studying and also helping people with different online forums, but this is a huge step, quitting your very successful job and then taking this big leap of faith. How did it go from there?
Yeah, so this was in 2018, so 1 year after I got my green card. And I don't know if you remember, in the last episode we discussed that, like, when I said this to my manager, I was making 140 per annum, very stable job in Baltimore. I was working 4 to 6 hours a week. I was almost unfireable because the amount of strength I had in the overall mobile app or overall technical department, it was very strong. Like, it was not worth for the company to fire me. So when I said my manager that, hey, like, I'm leaving it for to start something of my own, my manager asked, like, okay, do you have any plan? I said, like, no, I don't have any plan. Basically, from that point, February 2018 is when I left my job. And I don't know if you remember, one of the things I did is that I had, like, a, let's say, 8 to 10 years of runway, like single person runway. I can eat minimum, stay in a minimum cheap place in US and basically survive. And my thesis was that even if I'm the dumbest person, if I'm rolling the dice many times, then I'll eventually hit it. So I have to just keep rolling the dice. I didn't have any specific plan exactly. I had a high level territory on what will I do, but no specific, like, roadmap. And I had a high level mental goal that, okay, like, I will give myself 5 years maximum to make the same amount of money annually what I am doing from a job, from my own business, but stable income. So I had this 5 years of this jumping period maximum, but I also thought that, okay, I'm not super smart, let's give myself a little bit long time. So that was the thing. So by the time I had green card, so I could also exit US, because when I was waiting for my green card, before that I was in H1B. You know that in this kind of visas it's difficult to travel abroad. So in green card time, actually before I got the green card, there are some sacrifices I had to do which are kind of hidden. So number one is that, let's say, for almost 7 years I didn't come to Bangladesh. So my parents visited me. My parents visited me in LA, they visited me in New York, but I didn't come to Bangladesh. And a lot of my kind of like relatives or like close people, they were kind of like dying. Like I had my grandma, which is my mom's mom, she also died, and I couldn't go because I was in this risk situation of the green card. And I mean, I will not go too much into my old childhood, but part of my life I also grew up with my grandmother because my parents were both back in Saudi Arabia. And then I was kind of growing up a little bit with her, few years when I was by myself in Bangladesh. So it was kind of like tough for me to see that, okay, like, sure, I'm getting the US green card, I'm having a good job, but I am so suffocated in kind of like a jail that I couldn't do this, like people are dying and I cannot go in, you know. So the first thing I did is that after I left my job, honestly, I just came to Bangladesh, stayed with my parents for almost 4 to 5 months. You cannot stay outside more than US more than 6 months, otherwise you'll lose the green card. So I was staying there almost for 5 months, just literally just, I think I probably got a little bit burnt out with all this running and all these career related things. So this was my first break, like let's say sabbatical or something. And now I'm a big proponent of sabbaticals. Like every 7 years, it's proven that you should take a career break, at least for 1 year. You shouldn't work for 1 year, every 7 years. Anyway, I came and then I had some ideas of doing something, and I don't know, in the last episode I think I talked about this like this project I had, like higher study abroad, which was a Facebook group. And in the Facebook group there were, like, it was growing and I wanted to make something basically with the group. So my first idea, and I think you will be able to relate because you are also originally from Bangladesh, is that whenever we are abroad and we kind of make it, the first business idea which comes is always to do something in Bangladesh. Because it's like, okay, we have seen this in US, we have seen this in Europe, okay, let's make this in Bangladesh because it's, you can see the gap, like why would you not do it? I wanted to capitalize on this higher study abroad group where I don't know in 2018 what was the member, but it was more than 100k members already in the group. Remember that I'm coming from back then from a complete tech background, development, like full hardcore technical background. So the first thing I thought that I will use technology to basically solve this problem. There are a lot.
Was it in 2018?
2018.
Okay.
This is 2018 I came to Bangladesh, and then I had one of these teammates from higher study abroad. He was very passionate about machine learning. I mean, now machine learning is like ubiquitous, but that back then it was picking up. And then basically my idea was that I will take how can we use the machine learning for basically this case, meaning that there are so many people who are coming from different universities with different CGPA, with different GRE scores, and then there are so many universities in the US who have different requirements for entry, like admissions or scholarship. So basically mapping the profile. You say that which university you're coming from, blah blah blah, all these things, and it will do a recommendation engine based on your profile. We tried that project for 3 to 4 months, but obviously it didn't go through, or it didn't, like, once we launched, we had very low traction, very low user sign up. So I won't say that is my first company, but let's say that's my first like stab at basically like more like a project or company which I wanted to form, didn't register it. So the first learning was that you don't build a product without talking to the customers. So this was in 2018. Anyway, so I came back to US. And because I had my newfound green card right now, and you know that because I like traveling, I started traveling all around like nearby US, so Mexico, Canada, and some of the countries which gets unlocked because of this green card thing. And then I was frequently going to this like Toronto because I had a lot of people who are my alumni from the same university I graduated with. And one of my friends said that, hey, like, you are helping people to come from Bangladesh to the US, why are you not helping them on the next stage? So we basically started brainstorming, and one of the good ideas came that, oh, like that time I think income share agreement was getting popular by Lambda School and all these boot camps, and boot camps are also getting popular. So I'm like, okay, maybe we can basically help them land jobs. So I started this with two other people. One is my kind of like classmate from the same university. He was from CS. And another person was a friend of friend who was in Silicon Valley for a few years. So this three people. And then I don't know if you remember, but that time one of the job market was really good. This was 2019. Tech jobs were everywhere. And then I think we started in August or something, and within 2 months we had our first person who landed a job, and we started making money. And we had our big first revenue, and I got exposed to like monthly recurring revenue, because this is not just one time money, it's recurring coming. So I'm like, oh, this is fun. But we started having a little bit different problem, because I have never actually done a company before, and this is my like in that scale with a team and that kind of thing. So we started hitting a different type of problem, and the problem is that we started having some kind of like conflict within our co-founders. And co-founder conflicts are very normal, but I was not exposed to this because I have never built a company before. I didn't work with this kind of situation before. And the conflict was that basically we had some, of course you will have conflict, but we had some fundamental philosophical differences. So the other two co-founders, they are more about keeping a system closed. So they wanted to keep everything closed. Closed meaning like decision making, because we all started, three of us in August, and we started bringing some of our friends as mentors. We started bringing our students. I actually pulled a lot of people from Higher Study Abroad, my Facebook group. They knew me, they also came because of that. But the decision making process, at least from my co-founders, they were all about keeping things closed and like in the board echo chamber kind of thing. And I'm someone who is all about like making things transparent and open, and even if there is a new idea even by someone junior, it comes through. This wasn't, because we started having money, we kind of like okay, let's just sideline it, but this was bothering both of the sides, because I was trying to push it in one direction. I was the CEO, and they were also pushing it in another direction in terms of decision making. We started having this conflict bigger and bigger, especially when the revenue was increasing. I think after 6 months of forming the company, it was starting to become unbearable for both parties. So I had my two co-founders, they were kind of together on this viewpoint. And this is kind of unfortunate that for such an early stage company, we started having company politics. Like, oh, they are trying to protect themselves, they are trying to convince some of the teammates, students. It was just becoming toxic and ugly. And for the first 6 months or first couple of years, you should only focus on revenue and actually building a team, not dealing with internal politics. So anyway, I got a little bit kind of like, I decided to make some bold moves. And what I did is that I put like a kind of like an announcement in the common, like all the teammates, that hey, I wanted to have a discussion, that we wanted to make everything transparent. But I didn't do it only with the board, I did it with all the teammates, everyone who was a mentor. We had operations person, a lot of the people who are basically my friends, old friends. And the board did not really like it very well, because in the three co-founders, all of these people were in the board seat, and everyone didn't have board seat. And I didn't know what is a board member, what is a shareholder. I never built a company before. These are all foreign to me. So I will definitely remember this day. This was in COVID, May 2020. I got called in Zoom, and I was in Buffalo, New York, in some COVID like post like very sad house, whatever, just by myself. And then my co-founders, they called me and said that Siam, you are fired. So basically I got fired from my own company. I even have the PDF. After the Zoom meeting, they sent me a PDF, signed a DocuSign. Wow. I have the DocuSign that, okay, I will keep the DocuSign for the day, for a Steve Jobs moment kind of thing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to save the PDF. And basically, I definitely didn't like it. And then they said that, hey, Siam, you will not be a CEO anymore. You can be the chief marketing officer, but you will not have any say on many of the things, blah, 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 like a very constricted role. And what I have decided is that, okay, like this is not something I can do. So I just made an announcement in the Slack community that, hey guys, I'm letting everyone know that I'm leaving the company. You guys are going to be handled by this group. Literally with the first 24 hours, if you look at the Slack messages, man, this was something to see. Like every few minutes, every few hours, there is this new message coming that Siam is leaving the company, will leave the company. Both the students and the mentors. Literally in the Slack. Like literally like, I think like probably like 30 messages back to back coming.
That really says you have had really strong impact. I mean, during this short time of your, time in that company, right?
Definitely. I mean, the thing is that 70% of the students who are the customers came through me. 70% of the mentor panel came through me. But somehow the board was kind of closing everything within this thing. Anyway, that was a very interesting moment. And then I basically kind of like said, oh, so it kind of started becoming more ugly in the way that I'm not saying that it's anything wrong with them. This is again a philosophical difference, but this is how things start and become kind of, like you've seen the OpenAI case, what happened. Anyway, so majority of the people were actually the people who had the stakes. There was more than 51% vote for the shareholders for my side. So actually the board, whatever the board decides, it's kind of like not executable, because I still had more people on my side who could actually raise me in the board again, like reissue me in the board. So basically I just sent them a legal notice, and then they sent me a legal notice. Then it started becoming more like a legal battle. I think we spent, both parties, probably not too much because we are doing it with our lawyer friends, probably 2,500 per person, like per group started losing. And then both groups, after 3 months of massive traumatic situation, because I have never read Delaware C Corporation bylaws, I just did it with Stripe Atlas. I don't know these rules, I don't know article number, all these numbers, and what is a shareholder, what is a board of directors, what do you have to do when power comes to shove. That was a very painful moment. I was completely by myself and really kind of like stressed and traumatized. But finally both of the groups decided to come together and say that, hey guys, if we just keep doing these things to each other, eventually we will destroy our careers, we will destroy our company, whatever we have built, and then we will permanently jeopardize our future things as well. None of the investors will invest us anymore. Like we're just like uninvestable. Like if we go to a courtroom and like go through a full legal process. So we thought, okay, let's come to a mutual agreement. So finally I had another friend who came in as a kind of like arbitrator or like a mediator. So he mediated us. That was, man, that second, this like first official company get me hired. Such enormous learning experience for me. Number one is that whenever you're trying to build a company, of course, do it with like a company is basically a set of people. It's a team. The company is like a living organ. And if the living organism is not connected with each other, it will not be able to function. So that's number one. Number two is that it's probably for relationships, it's better to go slow. Like it's better to test things out instead of jumping in and making, like it's like marriage. You shouldn't immediately get married. First date, like normal, gradual process, slowly build the relationship, see if you have philosophical alignment. We didn't know these things. Having the hard conversations before, having the conversation that, hey, once we become $1 million company, what will we do? Things like that. So this is something I slowly learned through this thing. But still, I would say the second project, like, or Get Me Hired as a company, I would say still is a better learning, that if you are building something people don't want, that is the worst mistake. But the second worst mistake is that choosing the wrong team or not having alignment in the team. So that's the second, I would say, like learning from my second company. So I exited the company in a more like amicable manner, and I left the company to them. They kept the company, and they basically immediately after leaving the company, within literally the next day I filed for Algorithm as a new company, and within a month I started Algorithm, because now I'm like, I know everything. So yeah, Algorithm, obviously you are involved in Algorithm, so now you know, but this is kind of like the beginning story. 2020 July 10th is when Algorithm, I like filed for the Algorithm, like that's when we got the EIN, we formed the company. And actually, interestingly, the initial funding of the Algorithm was coming from the previous company, Get Me Hired, because when I exited, I made a deal that you have to also give some split of the previous revenue. So that was the first, I would say, like 6 months of funding almost. And then I had another friend who was trying to do a project, basically tech project. We had some people who, when we left Algorithm, when I left actually, not only as saying it, when I left, actually genuinely a lot of the students did leave, and
You mean
from Get Me Hired the agreement,
yeah.
they broke the agreement, or they was trying to break the agreement, and then majority of the people I took, not majority, all the people I took to Get Me Hired, they all left. All the mentors, they came from Get Me Hired to Algorithm. So basically all the people you know now, like Tanzim or Romeo, they all migrated from there. And then by this time I obviously know a little bit of this business, because this is similar, and instead of kind of the mistake of Get Me Hired, another one was that they were focusing all over, they were focusing Canada and too broad, and I decided to make it more narrow and just focusing in the US, because US market is very big. I didn't have to do too many things. So the first year of Algorithm, it was pretty good. It was going good. I guess within a year, the next year Algorithm hit 100,000 in annual revenue. It's not much, but this is the first time from my own business I was able to make a 6-figure annual revenue, which is not much again. But this is the first time I reached it, so it felt like a good milestone, which I didn't reach in Get Me Hired. And Algorithm obviously grew a little bit faster than that, within a year, that kind of revenue. And then, as you know that, I told something in the beginning that my goal was that within 5 years, I wanted to make same type of money as a salary from my own company versus basically doing a job, like a corporate job. And within 3 years of forming Algorithm, I started to have basically my own salary, which is matching basically my old job.
Wherever you left.
Wherever I left. So, but now it's in my own company, so I have my equity, it will grow, when you are working in a job, you do not have, 2x, 3x growth every year. In a job, you can raise 5%, 10% of your salary, but so that's basically the thing. But in Algorithm, I think the long story short, now it's been 3 years. We have already helped roughly around 108 talents land jobs. You started being involved with us like almost 1.5 years ago from now. But in the last 3 years total combined, we had also a lot of B2B contracts. So one of our largest clients is IBM, where we're basically working as a staff augmentation agency. So that's also, we have a couple of those. We realized that a lot of companies which are small businesses or SMBs in the US, in many states, they don't have any idea about hiring the immigrants. So we helped roughly around 15 to 16 companies to help build their immigration infrastructure inside, so that they can help, so that it's easier to hire the immigrants. Obviously, last year 2023, we applied and got approved of 6 H1B applications, which is completely nuts for me, meaning I was so much in stress just few years ago in myself, and then I cannot believe that I can reduce that level of stress for
6 more
people with H1B. We also started doing green cards, so, and of course we have done probably more than 30 OPT or OPT extension talents by this time, with different types of projects with different clients. I would say Algorithm as a company is quite stable right now. We have a stable team. Obviously you are an internal person, you know majority of it, but for the audiences, it's much more stable. It's not shaky anymore as a company. But company aside, I'll talk a little bit about my personal growth. So my personal growth side is that, honestly, because I didn't do startups before, again, because this whole game on how a company is small, it grows up at different stage, the founder also have to evolve. And I don't know all these things. These are all new to me. So the first big problem which started happening is that I was overworking. Obviously, I love building, I like working, so I was building all the time, but I was not taking care of my health. I was not taking care of my relationships. So I think in 2022, when the job market was kind of going low and we were signaling that, oh, there will be a depression coming, financial stagnation coming, most of the companies, big tech companies, stopped basically hiring or firing people. It was just starting to fire people. That time Algorithm certainty was also being questioned, but I also, like, it all started kind of going down in 2022, although now it's good or better, but in 2022 this stability was being questioned, and then this also felt kind of sucked that time, but it came as a very good thing for me because I got some breathing space, some time to reflect. And the major reflection was that I spent so much time grinding and working and overworking, not taking care of my health, overnight works, not deprioritizing all my relationships. I think that is probably my biggest learning for as like this early hustle culture founder versus more balanced founder, that okay, no, I will have to take care of my health, I will have to take care of my relationships, and actually that will make me more productive. If someone said this to me, I would have not believed this 3 or 4 years ago, but I had to go through this almost burnout level experience. So 2022, kind of like end of September 2022, after 2 years of formation of the company, I decided to kind of like slow down intentionally. I gave almost 2 to 3 months of notice to majority of our teammates, and we actually, like Facebook or like all this big tech, we also went through a 50% reduction. I mean, very small company, but of the workforce. It was a hard decision. I have never fired in this kind of way before, so it was very tough for me, but I learned a lot. And then because of this reflection, I also learned so many things about myself, that I was actually a terrible manager before. I'm not saying that I'm good or great, legendary now, but I was terrible because I was always giving something, but always kind of like holding it very tightly, that like micromanage, not intentionally, because I love my product, I put so much effort, I was caring about it, I was not able to let go, and because of this not letting go, my company was not growing, because how will the leaders rise if I'm continuously monitoring them? And it also, I started seeing that these teammates were losing confidence in themselves because I didn't have confidence in them. I am not perfect on this this moment now, but I am considerably better because now I'm more aware and I'm trying to work on it. So this was my first thing, and a lot of, actually I also started taking feedbacks with all my teammates, and majority of the feedbacks came that, hey Siam, you are inspirational, like there are good qualities, but you need to trust people more a little bit, like when you are giving something to people, it's okay to make mistakes. And this is something which took me a long time to do it, but now if you actually have seen me from 2022 to now, you would see the transition, that how much I have changed. Of course it will take more to become perfect on this. Yeah, so I would say like I learned a lot about, as I said, like balancing or stress, handling stress. When I'm feeling very stressed, especially as a leader, I decided that I obviously have been doing meditation for a long time, but I started embodying the practices of meditation here, that when I'm feeling stressed, not communicating, just reflecting and writing, and then when I settle a little bit, actually many of these things are more clear, and not taking these decisions emotionally and convey these things emotionally, especially when I'm feeling anxious. So honestly, and also there's this uncertainty thing, like oh, we are having a heyday, but it can any day go bad. We are having a really terrible time, but it can be good. This framework which I had long back from my previous stories, that when I lost my funding or something, but I actually forgot many of these things because I was kind of in a very cushy full-time job, and full-time jobs kind of slowly make you forget this important skills of uncertainty muscle. That got retrained. But honestly, the fundamental, just to wrap up the algorithms, like how it affected me, is that I became so process oriented. I do documentation. I learned so many skills from so many different directions, for my personal skills, people management skill, leadership, stress management, emotional regulation, so many multi-directional skills. Honestly, I would have not got this kind of learning if I went through any other career path. This is the most painful or most complex struggling career path, and this is the highest learning. Like the amount of learning you get in a startup if you build your company is insane. I think in the 3 years I feel like I grew in directionally probably like 10 years in a full-time job. Like it, in my previous company, first 1 year was growth. After that, for 3-4 years I was just chilling, no growth, only money was coming. Anyway, so I'm a big fan of the startup journey, entrepreneurial journey. I recommend everyone to try it if they can do it. But I went through this like last year, 2023. I went through this like kind of like again like a little sabbatical for my startup as well. And it's low key because it's a bootstrapped company. We really don't need to. We have cash flow, we have runway, so I didn't feel any pressure to like grow insanely fast like while I'm not feeling good. So I went through like this startup sabbatical now, that okay, like let's actually take some reflection. And honestly, last year has been really good for me. I did the 10-day silent retreat Vipassana in Bali. That was really good. I fulfilled a lot of my dreams. I love traveling, so I got my US passport in 2022. So basically I traveled, I went to 20 countries last year, which is like insane. And in all this traveling and everything, I met a lot of people from different cultures. I practiced a lot of meditation, self-exploration, journaling, writing. And honestly, I think this is a grounding. Not grounding, like this reflection is something I really needed. And I think honestly, I feel like this year I'm feeling like this is version 2 of the founder coming. Like personally, I'm feeling like this is a more mature version of me. And this is so amazing that startup can actually give you this. Within 3 years, I'm becoming a new character. And the reflection was really helpful. So if you remember my original motivation from the time when I spoke with my mom that I want to save at least 1 year of every person I meet in my life. Basically now 2024 beginning, I'm so grateful that there is this Facebook group which I have built, Higher Study Abroad, which has more than 220,000 members. Out of that is 20,000 lives in the US, 10,000 lives in Europe. And this is one side. And then from Algorithm, we have landed jobs to 108 people, but we have roughly around 2,000 people in our community overall. And I think that the goal of saving one person every year, I think that has already been done like for more than thousands of times already. And this is something which is very profound for me, because remember that I am actually someone who is very average. I was an average person in the university. Me being able to do this from coming this kind of background, going through the gyro stand, all these things, me being able to do this impact is still completely unbelievable for me, even though I am not even, like I'm just starting the journey. The journey is a game, is just starting, I'm feeling. But even then the amount of impact is impossible for a person like me. It still feels like that. And then the impacts, like small stories, like from Higher Study Abroad, that this person didn't even have computer in their home. So they went to cyber cafes. I think you know the cyber cafes, right? You go and pay for the cyber cafes. He applied through the cyber cafe. He used our group, and then he got full scholarship in France in university. And then he's completely, he comes from a very poor family. Same with algorithms. We had one student. She was from Nigeria. I'll not name any names here just for privacy, but she was originally from Nigeria, graduating from Syracuse University with a master's electrical engineering. She was really struggling because she wanted to go to computer science, and then she landed a job in Intuit, which is massive, 6-figure job. Wow. Crazy first job. There are so many whenever I am having a low day, the motivation here is that whenever they come and say that, hey Siam, you or your project or algorithm or Higher Study Abroad, it has completely changed my life. And this is something which I would even do honestly. I obviously need money to run the company, but I also get so much pleasure out of it, just because I can see the people's lives change. It's not like they're just faking it. And I guess I'll kind of wrap up this this phase of my journey, and kind of my summary with this thing is that there is this boundary of self, concept of boundary of self. So two things. One is that whenever you're helping someone, let's say I was one person a little bit who helped this person who came from this Bangladeshi village, went to Paris. This effect is not going to be only affecting this person, but whatever money they make, whatever education they goes through, they reinvest it in back home. They will maybe make a university school in the back home. They will probably pull some school. The first layer is these thousands of people's hours saved, but then there are ripple effects. Each person has tangential effect. It's completely immeasurable, the amount of impact you can have, number one. And then the boundary of self is basically what changed from me is that previously, because I came from Bangladesh, I originally grew up there, I used to identify myself primarily as a Bangladeshi, so my scope was only Bangladeshi. Me, Bangladesh, that was the thing. But honestly, because I lived in the US and I met so many global minds, my boundary of self is also expanded now. So it's basically all the 8 billion people and the planet and all the animals. Like, I don't have to limit myself. So this hunger of being able to help people as much as possible has only increased. It didn't go low that, oh, I'll just do a little regional thing. I'll actually do a global thing, and it has expanded. And that's why even wherever I come, I'm probably standing in one of my best dreams possible, having a US passport coming from Bangladesh, having my own company, stable revenue, traveling so much, amazing lifestyle. But I am still equally excited as 10 years ago for the next adventure or expansion. But anyway, so that's basically kind of like my summary of my startup, like as far as now.
Thank you, Siam. Thank you for sharing all these stories. And although we know each other personally, we work together, but I have learned so many new stuff over these few days. We'll probably wrap it up by asking you 2 more questions. You will answer, and then we will be wrapping up our final episode. So what's the future like from this point, and what is your suggestions for those who wants to pursue this journey, like become an entrepreneur?
2 questions, so I'll answer them separately. What am I excited about in the future? What's ahead in the future? Everything is ahead in the future. As you know that every year there are 200,000 international students graduating from the US, new international students. And every year there are 1 million new immigrants entering the US. So this is a massive market. We have only helped very small percentage of it, almost nothing. My first goal or first horizon is definitely to be able to help all these people at scale. I think for the last 3 years we only scratched the surface of what the problem is. We know that we have a team, we have a product, so I believe we have a product market fit, but the next stage is what we have to basically figure out, which is how do I scale, because I've never scaled before. This is the first time, and scaling is really hard. Like, there are a lot of different types of roadblock. The same founder cannot scale. It has to be a different founder. So I'm trying to basically understand how to play this part of the game, and so that I can be able to help all these people. And in general, if I be more specific, I think what I'm most excited about in this year's Horizon milestone is that we're building an immigration co-pilot. So this is basically anyone who is coming as an immigrant, they will give their data and we'll be able to help them with their entire green card pathway and all kind of legal things using LLMs and machine learning. I think that's where the majority of the expenses go to the lawyers. Of course, we will have lawyers too. Lawyers will be part of the platform, but much of this automated mundane work will go away. So that's what I'm excited about in terms of the scope of algorithm, and obviously the mission can go long. For advice, I won't say for entrepreneurs or students, or like, I will not put any labels, but I will share my fundamental principles of my life, and that could be interesting for some. So I added one more last year, but it takes a long time, many years, for me to add a new principle into my operating system. I had the first principle is called take risks, very simple. I think life is so short, and then if you don't take risks, it's actually not worth, you gain way more by taking risks. If you look at my trajectory, everything I have gained is through taking risks. Like, all the jumps I fell down, I got hurt, but the rise was 10x more, 100x more, and by this time I have confidence that I have found the pattern already. So now I am confident. Previously I wasn't confident. So take risks, that's number one. And second one is be kind. It's very cliche, I know, but it is so powerful that all my stories and all my personal journey has been so much through kindness, both receiving and giving. So I have received a lot of kindness from a lot of people, and I remembered those, as you mentioned in the previous episode. But I also try to help people. I always try to come from the angle that, hey, how can I help you? So being kind and being helpful is something which is in my framework, like in my DNA. I even thought of having 2 tattoos: take risks, be kind, 2 hands. But now I cannot do it because I have the third one and I don't know where to put the tattoo anymore. The third one is basically stay equanimous. This is something a little bit harder word, but this is something which came from the meditation, is that there will be ups and downs, there will be a lot of volatility in life. Life is uncertain in general. Either you go through relationships, either you go through company. There's always ups and downs. You know that. We all know life is never going to be stagnant and flat.
Yes.
But being kind of in the center, like equanimous means like being calm and then calmly deciding instead of anxiously or agitatedly or attachedly deciding. So I decided that, okay, take risks, be kind, and stay equanimous is my 3 principles right now, which is embedded in my system. So that's what I'll kind of like, yeah, that's my philosophy. I'll just share it, and if people can benefit from it, they can test it out. So that's it.
All right, Siam, thank you very much for your story and your advice. I'm sure, like you said, many will be interested in learning about your story and also might get benefit from this advice. With that note, I want to echo with your first 2 advice: take risk and be kind. With that note, we want to finish this series. Maybe in future we will start another show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tarek, and thanks a lot for everyone for listening.